Good afternoon, everyone. Hope things are well. Hope you are enjoying your Friday afternoon. And I'll be the first to say I'm still buzzing after yesterday. Newcastle United win 4 in a row, 14 goals scored in the last 4 matches, 3 clean sheets, actually 3 Premier League clean sheets in a row, may I also state. And it feels like this club has got to where they need to get to this season. And I wouldn't go as far as say this is Newcastle old, because I actually reckon the Newcastle that's playing now is better than the Newcastle team that got Champions League football. I feel like Tonali in that midfield just makes us so much better when we're playing on the ball. We are able just to dominate opposition teams. And speaking of midfielders, let's talk about Manchester United first. Before we discuss the suspensions on this video, we'll talk about the suspensions on their side going into Monday, because Ugarte out, Bruno Fernandes out. I'm already giving the yellow sign because I just can't see what our way it's going to go for Manchester United. Newcastle have got all their best midfielders playing. Manchester United are going to be struggling. I've already struggled this season, never mind without those two playing. So it's our game to lose. And forgive me, by the way, for obviously being in a bit of a different background today, and I guess my voice as well. I'm still a bit ill, so I'm just making sure I am 100% good to go on Monday, because I'm confident in this Newcastle team, and I feel like we are going to get the 3 points down at Old Trafford. But going into suspensions from this game, that there, well, you can't see it properly because the Xbox is on standby, but that there is the big talking point from the game yesterday. Thuram's red card against Fabian Schär. So he goes at the back of our player, regardless of intent, studs her out, goes into the back of Fabian Schär. The referee gives a red card. VAR then looks at the instant and they stick with the referee. They agree with the red card. Thuram finds out before he goes off the pitch, decides he's going to throw a water bottle at Newcastle, showing signs of aggression, and in an Aston Villa point of view, a bit of unjust towards them. That's the mindset Villa from that point on to half-time had. There was a big instant towards the end of the first half where, to be fair, Joe Linton has the Aston Villa player, holds him back, obvious yellow card, and an Aston Villa point of view, they even felt like that instant was more of a red card than the actual red card itself. So the point I'm trying to illustrate before we talk about the instant is that Aston Villa feels like the game has been unfair towards them. And obviously, as a Newcastle fan, yes, I have my different opinions on it, but I'm going to be as neutral as possible in this video. That was the Aston Villa point of view going into half-time. And the reason why I've just said that now is because of what's happened in the tunnel at half-time. Jason Tindall, our assistant manager, is sent off, and an Aston Villa analyst are both sent off in a incident which is described by Craig Hope to be a 20-man melee in the tunnel at St James's Park. The FA will be looking into this, and we'll talk about the FA's statement shortly, because they have said that they are investigating the current situation. But in terms of what Eddie Howe has said after the game, because this is quite interesting what Eddie Howe said, and I quote, "It's not at all how I want my players or staff to be, but sometimes you have to stand up for what you think is right and protect each other." I mean, that's an interesting quote, isn't it? I mean, that does tell us a couple of things. Now, in Eddie Howe's point of view, the way he's talked about that in the media, he's basically saying that Aston Villa has done something first. The way that it said we had to protect each other, it gives an indication that Newcastle is basically, I wouldn't say act as self-defence, because I don't think anything was that bad in the tunnel, or at least what's been described so far. But whatever's happened, it started in the Aston Villa point of view, and then Newcastle reacted to it. So that's probably the indication you can give us so far. I'm sure once the FA's done an investigation, we'll talk a bit more about that in just a moment, but they'll give out a better answer. But what has happened in the dressing room at half-time, it started off from an Aston Villa point of view, and then Newcastle's reacted to that. But the fact that only Jason Tindall and one Aston Villa analysis was sent off gives the indication that it wasn't as bad, I guess, as being made out in social media. It wasn't a case where there's 20 people swinging for each other and brawling. That wasn't what's happened at all. Of course, players would have been sent off. There would have been additional staff members sent off. It was only 2 individuals that was sent off, and it was an Aston Villa analysis and Jason Tindall. So what has happened between the two at half-time might have been a bit physical. I guess we'll find out as time progresses, but it wasn't as bad as social media makes it out to be. And of course, in our point of view, no players were sent off. And again, from Eddie Howe's quote, it's an interesting quote, because it definitely defends Jason Tindall. I feel like it's perhaps the correct way of describing it. But in terms of what else has been said, by the way, so the FA are investigating the tunnel incident during the Aston Villa game yesterday. It is likely that charges will follow. The charges, regardless of whose fault it is going to go to both clubs, I would assume. Obviously, both clubs had its staff member sent off. Both of them, you would assume, are going to be fine. Newcastle might have a slightly bigger fine because of our venue. If you're going to go technical into it, there might be a slightly bigger fine. But again, you would expect a fine both ways. I don't feel like there's going to be any suspensions unless it feels like whatever Jason Tindall and the analysis did feels like it should be a longer suspension. But I don't think it'll have any repercussions on our players or anything like that. So don't assume all of a sudden that there's going to be a player gone. I don't think that'll be a case at all. But again, it tells, I think the full instant actually and the match yesterday tells me a couple of things about Newcastle and a couple of positive things I will say now. The first thing being is that regardless of whether you guys watching now believe that Duran should have been sent off from the game yesterday, Martin Tabradka and Dan Burn, their reaction wins the red card in my opinion. If he didn't react at all, the referee might have just gave a yellow, but the fact they're straight over there, that they're pushing Duran, they're getting Duran's face, they're letting the referee know this is not good at all. Even if it's not a red card, I think it's bought the red card from the referee. I think the referee's reacted to the crowd. I think he's reacted to the players, which is good in our point of view. This dark art of football, you might call it, but Newcastle's been able to get something in our favour because of the way our players react. This team chemistry we have together. We just always protect each other. And as Eddie Howe said it, we need to protect each other. And that was his quote after the match. And the way Newcastle behaved going up to the red card, I think regardless of the foul itself, it has bought the red card, which for us is a positive thing. This Newcastle team is just able to get games in our favour. And I will say as well, we've also reacted well to the red card. The easy thing when Duran threw a water bottle on the pitch straight away, the easy thing he could have done is straight away getting in people's faces, trying to be arsey about it. Even in half time, again, stuff happened at half time. Our players don't get themselves sent off. We didn't get themselves into any real bad situations. And again, since Eddie Howe's came in, I can't think of a real incident at all during his over 3-year stint now where a player has done something stupid and got themselves sent off. The only time I can think of that is Kieran Clark in Saudi Arabia when it's a behind closed doors friendly and he punches a Saudi Arabian player and gets sent off. That's the only time where, bearing in mind as well, that was a player that we got rid of 6 months later regardless, but that's the only time during Eddie Howe's entire stint where I can actually just think of a player doing something stupid and getting a really stupid red card. I think Newcastle, for the most part, have been well at doing that. I think Joe Linton, if you're going to pinpoint one player, gives away some dodgy fouls sometimes, but Newcastle's done a good job of just making sure we keep our heads in game. Duran loses his head yesterday, and again, regardless of what you feel like about the red card, Duran, the moment, does lose his head, and Aston Villa, after that, were unable to get anything from the game because Newcastle had so much control and our heads were switched on. We just knew how to see the game out, and Villa had no chance. Once that red card occurred, I even feel like before the red card, Newcastle was the better of the two teams, and Villa just stood no chance against Newcastle. And in our point of view, you have to give us a thumbs up on that because I think Newcastle's done a superb job of taking out what is the Champions League side at St James's Park and just being so good at home as well. Not to mention, despite our dodgy form at times, don't forget this season at St James's Park, Arsenal beat City when they were good, drew. Liverpool drew. Chelsea won. Villa won. I mean, top teams are coming to St James's Park and none of them are walking away with anything. Brighton won but didn't deserve to win. West Ham's been the only team in the entire season, and probably a good calendar year or so now, to be honest. It's probably one of the only teams, West Ham, that actually came to St James's Park and deserved to win the game. And to be honest, we were crap in the game, so it was kind of more in our point of view, more than perhaps a good West Ham, not discrediting them. But that's one thing I probably would mention about the Villa fans in the game yesterday, actually. Now, they can be upset at the referee, they can be upset at VAR, that's understandable. You're more entitled to be upset with the way the game is went. But they're all discrediting Newcastle yesterday. Not a single Villa fan after the game has came out and went, well done Newcastle, good performance. Like, Newcastle played well before the red card. You can't deny that Newcastle didn't play well before the red card. And I know Villa fans are going to be upset with the way the games went, and that's fair enough. For those who are watching now, I'm not going to tell you that you can't be upset about the game, but not one Aston Villa fan, I haven't seen a single Aston Villa fan come out on social media and say, well done Newcastle. Newcastle played well yesterday. We had the ball in the back in it 6 times. I was incorrect and I said 5 times in my video. I completely forgot about the outplay goal, in the first half. Newcastle had the ball in the back in it 6 times. That's good. Like, Newcastle had a good game yesterday, and I don't know. I don't know why nobody in the Aston Villa fan base has said well done Newcastle. Just put your hand up and go, well, yeah, we lost. That's all you had to say. But yeah, a bit off topic there. But yeah, Newcastle was superb again yesterday. I've been really impressed over the last couple of weeks how good Newcastle has been. It's so frustrating when you look back in hindsight at the all matches because Newcastle's had some dodgy losses this season. We have dropped points this season and we're still fifth. We still are fifth. Now, in terms of fifth in the top four, there is a bit of a gap. Forest, to be fair to them, are still in the top four. I was expecting Forest to perhaps drop off a little bit, but they have survived this Christmas period. They beat some good teams and they're still in the top four. And the gap between fifth and fourth is a bit of a gap. So Newcastle need to keep getting the results in and don't worry about how the other teams do. As long as we win on the pitch, that's all we need to do. But Newcastle can potentially get Champions League this season if fifth opens up as a Champions League spot. That depends on how well the English teams do in UEFA competitions, but that potentially could be Champions League football. But regardless, though, I think Newcastle should be getting at least Europa League football this season. Maybe conference at the worst case scenario, but you get a lot more money in the Europa League and the Champions League. A lot better competition. I think it's more attractive to bring players in, and we'll talk about transfers in the next few videos once I'm 100%. But Newcastle going into the January transfer window, we've got a lot of leg room. In terms of money, we'll discuss why that's still we'll discuss why that's still a potential issue, but Newcastle got leg room in terms of potentially attracting players in. So we'll see what happens next. I'm going to wrap things up now because I still need to get some rest and I still need to be fine for the Manchester game. But Newcastle, in terms of the tunnel incident, I think we still look good. We haven't got any players sent off on the issue. And as long as nothing bad comes out in social media, I reckon we're okay. So, yeah, we'll see what happens next. But hopefully that's explained the tunnel situation a bit more because it's still a lot of question marks. I think you guys, myself, would all love the Sky cameras to just be straight in there recording everything. But in our benefit, there might be in this occasion, it hasn't happened. So, yeah. We'll let you know any updates as soon as they come out, but there is an investigation by the FA, and of course, 2 staff members have been sent off yesterday. So, in terms of the players, there shouldn't be any issues with the players, but appreciate you guys watching anyway. We'll see you at Old Trafford on Monday.